Chapter 61, Participate in the competition for the succession ceremony. 3 Soul Bones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Chen, who went to another room, suddenly realized a problem. Was the secret he heard tonight a little too big and too much? There is no doubt that Bibi Dong told him almost all of her secrets, including killing the Pope and future plans. This is really that Su Chen sighed with a headache. Sure enough, drunk women are troublesome. I hope she won't regret it when she wakes up. The boy shook his head and lay on the bed, no words all night. The next morning, in Su Chen's original room, His Holiness the Pope slowly opened his eyes with long and slightly curled eyelashes trembling slightly, looking at the unfamiliar ceiling. Bibi Dong's wine-red eyes flashed a trace of confusion, and then she remembered that she seemed to be in Su Chen's room, thinking of her actions last night. Her pretty face flushed slightly. It was really a bit too bold. Xiao Chen is a boy no matter what, and he will grow up in the future, but Bibi Dong thought of something, and a trace of joy appeared at the corner of her lips. It's time to go to the parliament. She yawned, reluctantly let go of the quilt filled with the smell of youth, stretched her perfect body that made people excited and even crazy, and felt relaxed all over. It has been a long time since I slept so soundly and peacefully. It seems that I will have to come often in the future. The Pope chuckled, casually put on the nightgown, covering the beautiful spring scenery, humming an unknown little song, and walked out. Boom! The training dummy made of iron heartwood shattered instantly under the blue light, and a spiral pit the size of a football appeared on its chest, which instantly penetrated out and smashed several dummies that pounced on it from behind. Ka. More dummies came around, but the silver-haired boy in the encirclement was punching and kicking slowly. Although the movements looked simple and plain, every time, a dummy flew backwards and hit the wall hard. If you look closely, you can see that most of the training dummies have broken hearts or joints, and they were killed by a precise blow. After a while, the boy was the only one left standing around him. Bang! Throwing the metal blocks on his waist and legs to the ground, the hard black stone floor was smashed into clear cracks. It's broken. I forgot to increase the weight today. Su Chen patted his head in annoyance. It's okay, I'll find someone to fix it. A familiar chuckle came, and the boy raised his head and saw Bibi Dong looking at him not far away. His Holiness the Pope looked at the mannequin with broken joints, and then at the metal ingots that could crush ordinary soul masters to death. A trace of curiosity flashed across his beautiful eyes. Do you train like this every day? For combat soul masters, the gains brought by the martial soul are enough to make their physiques very strong. Generally, only auxiliary soul masters deliberately train their bodies to increase their survivability, but Su Chen's training intensity is not only auxiliary, but even beast martial soul combat soul masters who are famous for their physical strength are probably unable to withstand it. Well, about 3 hours a day. Su Chen nodded and put away the props. Physical strength is related to his chakra extraction and the degree of use of the 8 gates, so it must be trained, if possible. He even wants to train for more than 6 hours a day, but unfortunately this is impossible. Practicing soul power and chakra, research on natural energy, and reviewing and developing other ninjutsu also require a lot of time. Su Chen wanted to split a second into 2 halves. Anyway, remember not to hurt yourself. Bibi Dong stared at the boy, stretched out her hand and tore off a corner of her nightgown from her chest, and handed it to him in Su Chen's confused eyes. Wipe your sweat, come up to eat later, I have something to discuss with you. She slowly covered her leaked spring light, turned around and left, leaving only a slender back. No, what does this mean? I have a towel, okay? Forget it, I'm almost used to it. This woman will go crazy from time to time. Su Chen shook his head helplessly, looking at the fragments with residual warmth and fragrance in his hands. I wanted to throw it away, but after thinking about it, I put it in the storage soul guide. I always feel that something terrible will happen if I throw it away. What? Let me go to the Soul Master Academy of Wuhuan City for further study. Su Chen, who was eating a bun, looked at Bibi Dong opposite him in a daze. That's right. The Pope had already put on the noble papal robe, sipping tea elegantly, and nodded gently. Only in this way can you represent the Spirit Hall in the Pope's succession competition. No, I won't go. Su Chen refused without any hesitation. Excuse me for being blunt, let alone the Spirit Master Academy of Spirit City, no one in the entire Douluo Continent knows the spirit system better than him. It's better to do 2 more experiments instead of going to the academy to play house with a bunch of little brats, let alone that competition. It's a waste to let him participate in such a meaningless competition. The reward for the champion team is 3 soul bones. Bibi Dong reached out and took the bun that the boy had bitten, opened her mouth slightly, took a bite and said, "Okay, I'll go." Su Chen was stunned at first, and then immediately sat up straight, looked at Bibi Dong seriously, and changed his words. "Please let me participate, of course, there is no need for further study." You. Bibi Dong laughed so hard that her body shook. She gently tapped the boy's forehead and said angrily, "I knew you couldn't refuse soul bones. I will find a way to give you more. Then thank His Holiness the Pope first." Su Chen touched his nose a little embarrassedly. "There is no way. Natural energy is really a big gap. Don't be so distant. Just call me sister." She pinched the boy's cheek unhappily. "However, you must participate in this training, otherwise you won't get soul bones. Don't worry, I have prepared a surprise for you." Bibi Dong got up and left before she finished speaking, leaving the boy with a mysterious smile. What is this woman planning? Su Chen had a slightly bad premonition in his heart, but soon, he was immersed in this sudden good news, 3 soul bones. With these 3 pieces, natural energy can be mastered and refined, right? As for Bibi Dong's request, he selectively ignored it. It's impossible to call her sister. Donger might be able to cough. Shaking his head, Su Chen threw away his messy thoughts, took a bite of the bun, and thought about what Bibi Dong said. The competition for the Pope's succession ceremony, well, it seems that this time, the scale should be quite large. 3 soul bones are already the standard for the Soul Master competition across the continent. The Wuhuan Hall has invested a lot of money to allow more people to come. Once this news spreads, some small sects and colleges will probably come to join in the fun. It's not small. Why, you don't want to participate? A cold voice sounded at the door. The boy raised his head and saw the blonde girl walking straight in and sitting in the seat where Bibi Dong had just sat. Regardless of whether Su Chen had taken a bite or not, Qian Renxue took the bun from his hand and took a bite, and said vaguely, "I advise you not to wade into this muddy water. The danger this time is beyond your imagination." "Well, your taste is not bad." The girl narrowed her beautiful eyes, took his drink and drank it all, patting her flat belly with some satisfaction. Anything else? Chapter 62 Qian Renshue's Bottoming Out, Plan Changes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You two, mother and daughter, are really that? Su Chen shook his head helplessly and simply gave her all the buns. Sure enough, no matter where in the world, no one can resist the temptation of steamed buns. When they were in the ninja world, Minato and the others seemed to like eating this oriental food that he said was so naughty. It can be regarded as my insignificant nostalgia for that vast land of mountains and rivers. You seem lonely. What, is the Pope treating you badly? The girl's voice woke Su Chen up. He raised his head and saw Qian Renxue puffing out her cheeks and looking at him curiously, just like a little golden hamster. Eat yours, that's not the case. Su Chen couldn't laugh or cry. This girl, after getting to know him well, has completely let herself go. Rather, this is what she is like now, right? After all, no matter what, she was only 12 years old, at an age when she longed for friends, longed for care, and was confused about the future. Pretending to be cold all day long was really embarrassing for her. Thinking of this, the young man couldn't help but feel a little pitiful for her. You eat more. If it's not enough, I'll go get it. He said warmly. Qian Renxue shuddered, touched Qishang Saishue's arm, and looked at Su Chen with disgust in her beautiful eyes. Your tone just now was exactly the same as my grandfather's. Poor shit, little girls and stuff are just as annoying as drunk women. Okay, stop talking nonsense. Why did you come to me? Su Chen glared at her angrily. She came in as soon as Bibi Dong walked away, and she looked like a starving ghost reincarnated, so she waited outside for a long time. Well, Ah, that means, Mentioning this, Qian Renshue's eyes wandered, and her little face gradually turned red. Even though she had rehearsed it many times since last night, at this moment, she didn't know how to say it. Such a precious thing, even if they are friends, the time they have known each other is still a little too short. If they say it rashly, will it hurt each other's feelings? Although she didn't feel there was any barrier between her and the boy, otherwise, she would not be able to muster up the courage for Su Chen to assume such a familiar posture. No, here you go. Before the girl could think of how to speak, a stack of paper was handed to her. Qian Renxue looked up and met those smiling black eyes. Friends should help each other, right? That's so he said. After thinking about it, Su Chen understood why Qian Renxue came. The only thing she has that can help her is the cultivation method. However, this information is really good. Is it Sendaliu? It seems that there are many people from Qian Douluo in the Pope's palace. Bibi Dong should also know about this, right? Qian Renxue was stunned. He looked at the paper full of words and then at the boy. His mouth opened, but he couldn't say a word. At this moment, the girl's nose felt a little sore. She carefully put the paper away, took a deep breath, and looked at Su Chen with extremely serious eyes. Yes, you are right, friends should help each other. You are my best and only friend, Qian Renxue added silently in her heart. Looking at the girl's eyes full of various emotions, Su Chen felt a little complicated. Compared to Bibi Dong, the environment in which Qian Renxue lived since she was a child was extremely generous. Otherwise, how could she be so trusted because of her cultivation method and her status as a friend? Even if you don't want this thing, I'm afraid Qian Douluo will give it to you directly tomorrow. Well, anyway, I still have to thank you. Yes, I actually still have it. The blonde girl seemed to have remembered something and spoke hesitantly, but this time it was obviously not because of Su Chen, but because of the topic, which seemed a little nervous for her. Just tell me, I'm bound to help if I can. Su Chen took the drink from the girl's hand, took a sip, and raised his hand to signal her to speak. Yes, I have a friend. Puff. The young man couldn't hold back and squirted out. Fortunately, he was on time and didn't spray on Qian Renxue, but even so, the girl was still shocked. Are you okay? She exclaimed and hurriedly came over to help Su Chen, but the young man waved his hand and refused. It's okay, it's okay. I didn't hold back for a while. You go on. I haven't heard this kind of talk about making friends out of nothing for a long, long time. Su Chen wiped his mouth and wanted to smile, but he felt it was not polite. Oh, okay, that's right, I have a friend. Qian Renxue looked at Su Chen worriedly, but still sat back, nodded, and took a deep breath. That friend of mine, her mother killed his father. Puff. Su Chen, who had just taken another sip, squirted out again, but this time it was purely out of shock. What? No, you mother and daughter have made an appointment to come to me to show off. Can I listen to this? Everyone in Su Chen was dumbfounded. Even if Bibi Dong doesn't care, will you come? I know this sounds incredible, but according to me, my friend's grandfather, plus some of her own analysis, she found that this should be true. Qian Renxue said, her beautiful eyes dimming a little. My friend's grandfather said that it was because my friend's mother was born an evil person. She did things for herself and never considered other people's feelings. I used to think so, until recently, my friend found something different. She found that her mother might not be as bad or evil as her grandfather said. Maybe there is something else behind this matter. She looked at the thoughtful boy hopefully. But her mother is unlikely to communicate with her. Her grandfather still said the same thing as before. What should my friend do? Although the two had known each other for a short time, Qian Renxue still felt an inexplicable sense of peace. In front of the boy, she could neither pretend nor be strong. Perhaps it was his strength, his calmness, and his thinking that entered her heart. Well, let me think about it. Su Chen pinched his chin and pondered. He realized instantly that this was an opportunity. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Bibi Dong and Qian Renxue to ease their relationship. No, I have to seize this opportunity, otherwise it will be too late when Qian Renxue leaves Wuhuan City. Originally, Su Chen just wanted to secretly reach a deal with Qian Renxue and lay out a plan in the Tiando Empire, but now, the plan has to change. Well, there is a way. After thinking for a moment, the boy snapped his fingers and looked at the girl. It's just that it may be a little embarrassing. Don't worry. Qian Renxue shook her head with a firm face. I just want to know the truth of this matter. For this, let alone embarrassment, I can pay other prices. This abnormal relationship has been hovering in her mind for several years, and now it has reached a point where she can't bear it. Embarrassment, how embarrassing can it be? Chapter 63, All forces are gathered, and the Pope's succession ceremony is about to begin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qian Renxue went back satisfied. The innocent girl still doesn't know what kind of social death situation she will face next. Anyway, now, she has received Su Chen's reassurance. This is really true. Su Chen shook his head, stood up and walked towards the underground base. With his current relationship with Bibi Dong, he can be considered to be involved in this matter. However, there is no rush for everything, you have to take your time. With this thought in mind, the young man began his own experiments and training. A month passed by in a flash. In the past month, Wuhuan Palace has experienced a huge shock. As Mr. Yin said, the emergence of the cultivation method is not only an impact on Wuhuan Palace, but also on the entire cultivation system of Douluo Continent. No soul master can refuse an increase in strength. This move even alarmed many titled Douluo who had already retired and lived in seclusion. The Enshrinement Hall and the Elders Hall all mobilized to look for Bibi Dong and learn about the cultivation method, and Bibi Dong did not give up this good opportunity. With the help of the cultivation method, the high-level officials of Zhongli and the Angel Line were cleaned up, the guilty were investigated, the transferred were transferred, and before Qian Douluo could react, the news was divided and modified, and spread to the middle and lower levels, causing a stir. There was a huge commotion, with the support and solidarity of the middle and lower level soul masters, and using this as the core to win over many worshippers from the Elder Hall and the Enshrinement Hall, Bibi Dong's power and prestige almost reached its peak. For the first time, the future queen of the Spirit Empire showed something other than her unparalleled cultivation talent in the continent. That is bloody decisiveness and the toughest political technique. As one of the core of the incident, Su Chen, the inventor of the cultivation method, had a rare and peaceful time. Practice step by step, do experiments, practice ninjutsu, talk to Tian Meng, or occasionally go out with Qian Renxue, and take Su Xiao to recuperate his body. Since that night, Bibi Dong has been so busy that she seldom comes back to the garden. When she comes back, she just stands quietly at the entrance of the base for a while, until Su Chen notices those tired burgundy eyes. She disappeared quietly. Su Chen was a little awkward at first, but gradually got used to it. It's just that the calm didn't last much longer before it was broken by sudden news. Have all the forces gathered? The young man was wearing a white coat and black-rimmed glasses. He was shaking the solution in the cup. He raised his head and asked in surprise. Yes. It should be said that all the major forces arrived a few days ago. Qian Renxue nodded. The girl was sitting dignifiedly on the sofa, looking curiously at the things in the boy's hands. Today she was wearing a simple white dress that covered her knees, revealing a fair and shapely calf. Is this how Su Chen developed the cultivation method? So awesome. Looking at the instruments and test subjects that she didn't recognize at all, the girl showed an unclear expression. Big power. Su Chen paused slightly, placed the solution on the shelf, and used tweezers to hold a crystal and put it into it. A faint strange wave spread quickly, but disappeared after a moment. Forget it, I failed again, let's just stop here today. The young man shook his head in disappointment, placed the measuring cup on the shelf, took off his glasses and white coat, revealing his simple training clothes. After washing her hands, she picked up the teapot, poured 2 cups, and handed 1 cup to Qian Renxue. You go on. He is still very interested in this. After all, he may also have to play by then. It's always good to have some more information. Well, as far as I know, in addition to the Haotian sect, the upper 3 and lower 4 sects have sent people, as well as the 2 major empires, the 5 major academies, and some lesser-known forces. Qian Renxue withdrew her curious gaze, took a sip from her teacup, and thought for a moment. Anyway, if you want to participate in the competition, you might have to face students who are many years older than you, and all of them are genius. The reward of 3 soul bones was enough to make all the forces raise their eyebrows. In addition, the age limit was consistent with that of the Soul Master competition. Even the Tiendo royal family changed their minds and formed a temporary team to try their luck. If that's the case, it would be really difficult. Su Chen pinched his chin and said thoughtfully, he didn't want to expose his soul ring in such a mixed competition. The first ring of 1,000 years can barely be explained, but 10,000 years is a bit too scary. Until now, only Bibi Dong and Ju Douluo knew this secret. Still, in this continent-level competition, one can easily be targeted by the gods if not careful. That would be troublesome. After all, where I live now, there are human representatives of gods. It is indeed a headache to think about using martial arts to defeat the talented team composed of all the forces. Really? And I heard that this time, the competition system has been changed, and there will be a big melee at the end. Qian Renxue added, if you need information, I will find someone to send it to you later. Dang dang dang. Su Chen was about to say something when there was a knock on the door. Su Xiao stuck his head out and said, son, Elder Ju is here. He seems to have something to do with you. How about you? His eyes lingered on the beautiful blonde girl who was a little embarrassed for a moment, then he looked at the young man and winked secretly. Stop for a moment. Sorry, I interrupted you for too long. I'll see you later. Qian Renxue stood up awkwardly, a blush appeared on her pretty face. She hurriedly bowed and walked out without waiting for the boy to stop her. Dad, you are really... Su Chen looked at Su Xiao helplessly. Can you stop teasing me? Because of the need to discuss some plans, Qian Renxue often came to Su Chen. For convenience, he simply moved the subsequent experiments to his home. Anyway, the preliminary research has been basically completed, and the rest is mainly to repeat simple practices. But unexpectedly, after a while, perhaps because of the frequent secret talks between the two, Su Xiao misunderstood something. From then on, he regarded Qian Renxue as his daughter-in-law. Poor Qian Renxue had never experienced such a thing, especially since this was the father of her only friend. She couldn't beat him, scold him, or say anything to him. What's more, he didn't have any malice and even took care of her more attentively. Over time, the girl even developed a phobia of Su Xiao, and would flee in a hurry every time she saw him. Being able to scare the future angel god away, I wonder if Su Xiao will be proud if he knows. Nonsense, where am I kidding? I can see that the little girl's eyes are full of you. Su Xiao shook his head and said earnestly. You have to hurry up, a girl who is so beautiful and has such a good temperament. I have only seen His Holiness the Pope. Dad is helping you, don't you understand? Su Chen was a little impressed by his cheap father's eyes. How can they not be similar? They are mother and daughter. Dad, I'm only 6 years old. He sighed. Didn't you say that Ju Douluo was looking for me? Oh, yeah, look at my memory, let's go out. Su Xiao patted his head, took 2 steps, turned back, and snorted, what's wrong with 6 years old? When I was 6 years old, 14 years old, I touched your mother's hand. As my son. The boy ignored his mumbling and walked to the living room, where he saw Ju Douluo staring at the ceiling with lifeless eyes, and his charming face looked much more haggard. Seeing Su Chen coming out, he slowly turned his head, his eyes trembled, and 2 lines of tears actually flowed out. You. It's so hard for me to find you. Chapter 64 Desensitization Plan, Taking Qian Renxue to see Bibi Dong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Damn it. Su Chen was shocked. He looked at Ju Douluo who was crying in confusion, feeling a little bad all over. When had he ever seen Ju Douluo look like this? I'll make some tea. Behind him, Su Xiao swallowed his saliva, turned around and got into his room with the steaming teapot in hand, and closed the door tightly. No matter how big his heart is, he knows that he cannot see this kind of scene. Don't worry, tell me slowly, what happened? Su Chen didn't care about his father's little actions. He sat across from Yu Guan and handed him a piece of paper. the latter took the paper, carefully wiped away all his tears, sniffed, and said with some resentment, "Little Su-Chen, let's judge from my own heart, have I ever cheated you?" "No." Su-Chen shook his head. "Have I saved you?" "That's right." "Is that why I brought you to His Highness the Pope and vouched for you?" "Yes." Su-Chen nodded. Ever since he entered the spirit hall, the second elder Ju Douluo had indeed helped him a lot. No matter what the reason was, Su-Chen would keep this in mind: you still have to be conscientious as a human being. "Since I didn't feel sorry for you, why did you cheat on me?" Ju Douluo was anxious and angry, and the finger pointing at Su-Chen was trembling. "It's okay to just leave the Pope's place without saying a word. You actually got so close to Qian Renxue. Did I remind you at that time that she and the Pope are incompatible, that this month, because Bibi Dong's prestige and power have grown tremendously, the status of the elders of the Pope's sect has also increased. Not to mention that their salary has doubled, and they can walk away in the Wuhuan Palace with pride. Of course, there is a lot of work that comes with it, but for Yueguan, this is a happy trouble." But just as he was humming a tune and working with dark circles under his eyes, the news came through. It's so pitiful that when Yueguan heard the news, everyone was dumbfounded, thinking of Bibi Dong's eyes that could almost freeze someone to death. Yueguan's calves were trembling now. You say you. He looked around, and said in a low voice, "You can forget about meeting her. Why don't you keep a low profile? You still wander around the streets, just for fear that others won't know, right? You don't really think that if you leave His Majesty the Pope, she won't let anyone follow you, do you?" That Yueguan glared at Su-Chen with his bloodshot eyes wrapped in dark circles. Come on, tell me, what do you think?" Su-Chen was silent. He tilted his head with a guilty conscience. "Well, Elder Ju, let's deal with this. I will handle it, so just leave it to me." If this is the case, then he really has nothing to say, because this is intentional. As early as a month ago, Su-Chen had been conceiving this plan when he promised Qian Renxue to help contact Bibi Dong. After all, he and Qian Renxue don't have much time. Once the succession ceremony is over, Qian Renxue will inevitably return to Tiando Palace and continue to pretend to be Xueqinghe. If I want to meet again, I don't know when. It is even harder to say whether Qian Renxue will still have such a mentality when she grows up and kills several princes, although after that night, the depression and shadow in Bibi Dong's heart should have dissipated a lot. It does not mean that she can accept her pain and reveal her scars, going up to ask directly or. Su-Chen trying to establish a connection will only have the opposite effect. Therefore, he chose to proceed step by step, starting from meeting Qian Renxue, training together, going shopping, and finally taking her home. Bibi Dong was gradually stimulated. Su-Chen calls it desensitization training. When Bibi Dong reaches her limit, the Pope will probably be more patient and explain to Qian Renxue. There is no doubt that this is a bet on Bibi Dong's tolerance for himself. Before he came up with the cultivation method, he definitely wouldn't have dared to play like this. One accident can trigger two explosive barrels at the same time, but things are different now. He and Bibi Dong have formed a close chain of interests. Even if they fail, if they produce some results, the relationship can be quickly restored. Furthermore, he couldn't just sit back and watch two future god-level combat forces go their separate ways and become internally consumed. These are all high-quality combat capabilities for counterattacking the god realm in the future. Now, he finally received Bibi Dong's reaction. The effect seemed to be good, and Su-Chen breathed a sigh of relief. If you miss this opportunity, you will really never see it again. It's just that poor elder Yueguan suffered the unreasonable disaster in vain. Deal with. Ju Douluo looked at the young man suspiciously. How do you deal with it? Why don't you just go and explain it to me? Are you really in a relationship with Qian Renxue? Su-Chen. Well, just leave it alone. The young man muttered casually, not only is it just a relationship, I will also take her to see the Pope later. My little ancestor, can you save me some worries? Yueguan slapped his head and fell weakly on the sofa, looking helpless. After dealing with Su-Chen for such a long time, I got to know him well. When I saw the young man's face, I knew that he was definitely going to cause trouble. Forget it, I don't care. Now, immediately, come with me to see the Pope. Ju Douluo stood up like crazy, picked up Su-Chen, and hurried out. Wait, let's wait for someone. Su Chen broke free lightly, shook his wrist, and pointed to the door. She will be here soon, in a few minutes. Who? Yu Guan was a little confused. Will she help us? Before he could figure out what Su Chen meant, he saw a blonde girl coming out from the corner, in front of outsiders. Qian Renxue returned to her cold look, and nodded slightly to Yu Guan, which was also a greeting. Okay, we're all here, let's go. Su Chen smiled and looked at Yu Guan. The latter was silent. After a while, he raised his finger tremblingly, pointed at Qian Renxue, and then pointed at Su Chen, with an expression on his face that said, "Are you fucking kidding me? After all this time, the person you are waiting for is still her? Going to her with the source of the Pope's rage, are you crazy or am I crazy? Su Chen, why don't you think about it carefully? Take a deep breath." Ju Douluo forced a smile, glared at the silver-haired boy with gritted teeth, his eyes flashing wildly. "If you want to die, don't drag me." If it weren't for Qian Renxue, Yu Guan wanted to take Su Chen to the lake to soak and see if he could sober up this crazy boy. Believe me. Su Chen smiled and patted the former's arm, waved his hand, and the blonde girl followed. "Ah, I will be killed by you sooner or later." Seeing the two people walking away, Yu Guan pulled his hair painfully and quickly followed. Wait for me. Chapter 65 Ju Douluo, is this something I can know? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wuhuan City, in the Pope's palace. Today, this magnificent hall seemed a little empty, with only 4 figures visible. Bibi Dong was still wearing the papal robe that was noble and elegant, but could outline her graceful figure. Her perfect pretty face had no expression, and her beautiful burgundy eyes looked coldly at the 3 people below, the smiling silver-haired boy, the frightened Yu Guan, and Qian Renxue, looking at the face that was somewhat similar to her own, but younger. Nameless flames continued to rise in the heart of the Pope, causing her to involuntarily grasp the scepter, and a few blue veins appeared in her delicate and white jade hands. In other words, this flame has been ignited since the boy moved out, but now that he saw them standing side by side, it rose to the extreme. It is said that when things go to extremes, they must be reversed. The extreme anger did not make the Pope lose her cool, and her face did not even change at all. She just calmly passed by the 3 of them, and her eyes stayed on the girl's hand for a moment. The blonde girl seemed calm, but her slightly trembling hands were still keenly noticed by Bibi Dong. Oh! The corners of the Pope's lips curved up into a mocking arc, and somehow, the anger in his heart suddenly eased a bit. Staring at the silver-haired boy with bright eyes, "Chen, don't you have anything to explain to me? Besides..." She thrust her chin towards the blonde girl. "Do you know who she is?" As soon as the words fell, the air in the hall seemed to be condensed by ice. Gudu. Yu Guan's Adam's apple rolled up and down, and he was so scared that he didn't dare to breathe out, and he wanted to bury his head in his neck. "I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I really owe it. This kind of thing, why should I get involved?" "Well, I know you, Qian Renxue, the granddaughter of the great worshipper." The young man's smile remained unchanged. He nodded and looked at the woman in front of him. After not seeing her for a month, Bibi Dong's temperament has already undergone great changes. The faintly suppressed madness and turmoil almost completely disappeared, replaced by nobility, elegance and peace. Su Chen could already see some shadows of the future empress of the Spirit Empire, the god of Rakshasa, who would look down upon the world. The speed of growth is amazing. Perhaps Qian Douluo's failure was precisely because he felt that he was in control of everything, but he never imagined that the silly girl back then could grow into a behemoth in just a few years, which restricted him in every way. But the more this happens, the more important it is to do what you have to do now. The young man raised the corners of his mouth and looked directly into those wine-red eyes. "Or, your daughter." Bang. As soon as the words fell, Yu Guan collapsed on the ground, his eyes almost bulging out of his sockets, and his whole body was shaking like chaff as he looked at Su Chen. What did he hear? Daughter? His Majesty the Pope's daughter is Qian Renxue, the granddaughter of a great worshipper. Damn it! This shocking news almost shattered his brain, and he was too dizzy to react. "Did she tell you?" Bibi Dong closed her beautiful eyes, took a deep breath, and the hand holding the scepter began to tremble. The cold breath of death slowly emerged, making the already frozen air fall into freezing point. Qian Renxue stared at the smiling boy in shock. She didn't say it. I'm talking about my friends, not me. No, His Majesty the Pope, I guessed it myself. The smile on Su Chen's face gradually faded, and he sighed, looking at Bibi Dong who was breathing unsteadily. It's not hard to guess, isn't it? Click, the floor cracked open as the breath continued to spray out, and gradually spread towards the young man, but it surged for a moment and then stopped. So, this month, you are. She kept taking deep breaths, suppressing the anger and pain in her heart, with a hint of unbelievable pain in her eyes. Yes, I did it on purpose. The boy nodded. Boom. As soon as the green light was released, the thick pillars exploded and shattered instantly, countless bricks and stones flew everywhere, and smoke rose. Bibi Dong's delicate body trembled, and she slowly retracted her hand, her chest heaving violently, and an abnormal blush appeared on her pretty face. Yueguan, you go out first, that she whispered. Your Majesty, I think. Roll. Ju Douluo nodded hurriedly and ran out in a hurry. Before leaving, he gave Su Chen a wish for blessing expression. I tried hard, really, damn brat. Why can't you just let me go out and talk about it? Is this something I can fucking listen to? Woo, you know something bad will happen today. Will you be silenced? Bang. The door was closed tightly, and there were only 3 people left in the hall. You obviously know. As soon as Ju Douluo left, Bibi Dong could no longer restrain herself and slumped down on the Pope's throne. 2 lines of clear tears fell from his cheeks, and a crazy flame ignited in his eyes. Qian Renxue looked at all this with a pale face. This was the first time she saw the Pope, her nominal mother, looking so fragile and out of control, just because Su Chen brought her here. Is your hatred for me so deep? The blonde girl opened her mouth, but no words came out of what she wanted to ask. At this moment, she just wanted to turn around and run away. Yes, I know that she is the source of your pain and your bloody scar, but, Sister Dong, do you think this is your fault? Su Chen sighed, walked forward slowly, and gently grabbed Bibi Dong's hand. Snap! The latter slapped his hand away, looking at the young man with his beautiful bloodshot eyes. His whole body was filled with momentum, and the shadow of a huge spider appeared, and he opened his big mouth full of fangs, as if he wanted to devour it. The warning sign of danger stimulated every cell in Su Chen to send out an early warning. Tianmeng in the Sea of Spirit was already trembling with fear. The strong murderous intention and madness almost drowned him, making his bones scream with overwhelming force. But even so, the boy's expression remained unchanged. He was just stubborn and grabbed Bibi Dong's hand again. The hand was delicate and white, as smooth as gel, but there was no warmth at all, as cold as a piece of ice. Let yourself go. The young man chuckled. The victim is not guilty. The shadow shattered like a water mirror, and the murderous intention disappeared instantly. Bibi Dong was stunned. The words of the silver-haired boy kept echoing in his mind, like a drop of clear spring falling into the blazing fire and deathly silence. Instead of evaporating, it fell down firmly, slowly infiltrating the already anxious and riddled heart, allowing it to relax. Slowly regenerate fresh flesh and blood. Woo! At this moment, the endless grievances accumulated over the years flooded into her heart and burst out uncontrollably. She desperately hugged the young man in front of her and burst into tears. Qian Renxue, who was about to turn around and leave, was also stunned at this moment. Not only was her mother's imageless appearance, but more importantly, she heard a word she had never thought of appearing on her mother: victim. Chapter 66 Mother and Daughter Reconciliation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bibi Dong has had many auras since she was a child, a peerless genius with innate soul power, the Pope's only disciple, the most beautiful woman in the continent, and later the youngest Pope in history, and so on. Qian Renxue has also heard many people's comments about her, and they all have envy, jealousy and admiration, but I never heard the word victim. She had a strong premonition. The truth I am pursuing is closely related to this word. After a long time, His Majesty the Pope stopped crying. His beautiful eyes were red and swollen, and he looked away from Su Chen. He turned away with some embarrassment. I'm sorry, Chen. The corner of Su Chen's mouth twitched, feeling the upper body that was almost soaked. Is this woman made of water? It's okay, it's okay. He waved his hand, and the milky white chakra floated up, guiding the moisture on Su Chen's body to gradually condense into a water ball and throw it aside. Feeling better now? The boy asked with concern. Much better, thank you, Chen. Bibi Dong nodded. She looked at the boy, her beautiful burgundy eyes shining with a luster she had never seen before, as if she wanted to carve him firmly into her heart. At this moment, Bibi Dong suddenly felt reborn. So, I think, in fact, sometimes, it may be just a simple communication issue. Su Chen clapped his hands and looked at the silent Qian Renxue. Tell me about your problem. Turning his eyes to the blonde girl, Bibi Dong's expression instantly turned cold. Even though she was relieved a lot, the process would not be too fast, and the relationship between Qian Renxue and her was not about parentage. She wanted to throw Qian Renxue out directly, but since this was what Su Chen wanted to do, Bibi Dong didn't want to let the boy down. You'd better have something important to do, otherwise, get out of here and go back to the Tiando Empire's mission, and don't let me see you in 10 years. His Majesty the Pope said coldly, and the latter didn't care about Bibi Dong's tone, or she was used to it. The girl bit her lips tightly, took a deep breath, looked into those wine-red eyes and asked. Did you kill my father? Under her vaguely expectant gaze, Bibi Dong showed a beautiful and cruel smile, and then nodded vigorously. Yes, I killed him. Not only did I kill him, I also pulled out his soul bones one by one, devoured his flesh and blood, and ate away at his soul. Let him completely disappear from this world. A sickly blush appeared on the pretty face under the Pope's crown, and he looked at the pale and shaky blonde girl. What? Do you want to avenge him? You. Qian Renxue clenched her fists angrily, looked at the laughing Bibi Dong, and gritted her silver teeth. Grandpa is right, you are indeed cold and heartless. Ugh. The slender and delicate jade hands reached out like lightning, and in an instant they grabbed the girl's neck and picked her up. The Pope's eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. I'm warning you, if you let me hear that old guy's name from your mouth again, you will never come back to the spirit hall again in your life. Bang. After saying that, he threw it to the ground. Ahem. Qian Renshue's pretty face turned red, she coughed and got up from the ground in embarrassment, still glaring at Bibi Dong with hatred. There is no doubt that Qian Xuanji is the person she respects the most despite the lack of maternal love since she was a child. The girl originally had some illusions, but now that she saw Bibi Dong admitting it herself, she gave up completely. What about me? She asked. Tears rose from the girl's eyes and slid down her face. She growled in a low voice. Then am I your daughter? Hearing the girl's hysterical roar, Bibi Dong's eyes trembled for a moment, and a trace of complexity flashed across her pretty face. After a while, she took a deep breath and nodded slowly. As much as I hate to admit it, half of my blood does flow from your mistake. Bibi Dong couldn't say some words that were too cruel. The paranoia and stubbornness in the girl are indeed exactly the same as hers. Then why you never? Qian Renxue was stunned for a moment, as if she didn't expect Bibi Dong to admit this problem, so she wiped her tears and asked, but before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Bibi Dong waving his hand. Why? Bibi Dong's eyes were cold again. She stood up and looked at the girl condescendingly, with a smile that was either mocking or self-deprecating at the corner of her mouth. You ask why? Of course it's because your dead father raped me that I gave birth to you. Qian Renxue suddenly raised her head, her pupils shrinking sharply. Why? Do you know how many things your father has done to have a legitimate reason for me to be used as a pawn to maintain your angel bloodline? Master and disciple, saint, Your father treats me as a breeding machine, your grandfather treats me as a puppet and a chess piece, and you regard their words as truth. Tell me. She leaned down, closed the distance with Qian Renxue, and spoke word by word. Why? Like a bolt from the blue, Bibi Dong's words were so shocking that the girl subconsciously took 2 steps back, her mind going blank. I am, actually, the product of rape. Her father, whom she respected the most, the previous Pope of Wuhuan Palace, was actually such a criminal who plotted against his disciples. The girl's lips moved. She wanted to say something, but also wanted to directly question and refute, but there are various indications that this matter is highly likely to be true: her father's embarrassment, her grandfather's reaction, and her hatred of herself for so many years. In this way, everything can be explained. Why is my own existence not a bloody scar? I'm sorry. She opened her mouth with difficulty and struggled to bend down and bow. There was no emotion in her muffled voice. Sorry. The girl repeated it over and over again. Bibi Dong's fingers trembled slightly, but after struggling for a moment, she let go. I don't know how many times I said sorry. The blonde girl staggered up and wanted to leave, but was grabbed by a hand. Wait, you haven't said it yet. Qian Renxue turned to look at the silver-haired boy, who also looked at her with bright black eyes. Communication is two-way. Why don't you tell me why you have actively stayed away from her since you were a child? Chen asked softly. Bibi Dong snorted when he heard this and leaned on his seat with a nonchalant look. In fact, my ears perked up quietly. Qian Renxue lowered her head and murmured, I'm very scared. She has always looked at me like an enemy since she was a child. Even if I peeked at her secretly, gave her something, or wanted to talk, she would be the one to stop me. Use unpleasant words to say it. The girl didn't say anything, but everyone could imagine the rest. He took the initiative to get close to her countless times, but what he got in return was unimaginable hatred. Let alone a child, even an adult could not bear it. Bibi Dong opened her mouth, but nothing came out, because Qian Renxue was not wrong. So, for many things, communication is the key. Chen came over and stood between the two of them, holding one hand on each side. Since you are not at fault, she is not at fault, and the person who is really at fault is dead, why can't we get along well with each other? As he spoke, the young man put his two hands together. Chapter 67. The power of magic is so terrifying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qian Renxue was drowning in sadness, while Bibi Dong recalled the scene at that time. The little blonde man tiptoed and hid in the crack of the door to look at her. He ran over with short legs and carefully handed over a beautiful flower. However, at that time, my heart was filled with madness and pain, and my eyes were blinded by hatred. He could neither feel her timidity nor the courage she had worked hard to muster, nor could he see the desire in her eyes. Naturally, she knocked down the flower mercilessly and cursed her with the most vicious words. Seeing the tears of fear and grievance falling from the eyes of the little man, you can feel the joy of revenge in your heart. Thinking about it now, she must have been very sad at that time, but if I remember correctly, she was on the second day, the third day, and the fourth day. Have been here too. It's just that I never cared about it. Bibi Dong's beautiful eyes flashed, with a hint of complexity and guilt. Just as he was about to say something, he felt his hand being grabbed by the boy and placed on the other hand. Bibi Dong. Qian Renxue. The two of them looked up at the same time, looking at each other in astonishment, and then involuntarily looked at the young man in the middle who was smiling very happily. It really makes me happy to see you guys reconcile. The young man nodded with emotion, but before he could finish his words, a huge force rushed him out, and turned into soft soul power in mid-air, making him fall lightly to the ground. Chen. He stood up in confusion, and met two pairs of shy and angry beautiful eyes. Bibi Dong's pretty face turned a faint blush. She suppressed the shame in her heart, glanced at the young man, and withdrew her hand. Qian Renxue was even more miserable. The blush almost spread to her ears. She glared at the boy fiercely, covered her cheeks and ran out. Huh? What are you doing, repaying kindness with vengeance? Chen stared blankly at Qian Renxue running away and Bibi Dong with her back turned to him, feeling infinitely sad. Women are indeed unreasonable creatures. But the boy didn't know that Qian Renxue and Bibi Dong both thought of the same identity when they saw the boy at that moment, and the look at each other confirmed each other's thoughts. It's like an indispensable position in the family. In desperation, shame and anger, Bibi Dong couldn't control herself. I'm leaving. Although I don't know why the two of them are crazy, at least judging from the results, it seems to be quite smooth. The depressed Chen waved his hands and decided to go back to the long-lost laboratory. Only research and knowledge can soothe his wounded heart. Wait, Bibi Dong's voice came from behind. Chen turned around impatiently and saw a golden crystal flying towards him. Sorry, Chen, it's my fault. I really thank you. This soul bone is a gift from me. I hope you. The Pope looked at the young man apologetically, but if he wanted to say something else, he was interrupted by the young man with a wave of his hand. Stop talking. Chen's Adam's apple rolled, and only the golden crystal remained in his eyes. Judging from his experience, this is a soul bone that is at least 40,000 years old. It is also the rarest head soul bone, second only to the external soul bone. In the young man's field of vision, rich natural energy surged above it, at least equivalent to the amount of 3 soul bones. I understand completely, so it doesn't matter. See you tonight. I'll leave first. The young man nodded unconsciously and grasped the soul bone firmly. His mind was already thinking about how to use this soul bone, and his legs walked out involuntarily. Now he only has one idea, the final piece of the natural energy puzzle. Bang! The door opened and closed again, leaving a somewhat dumbfounded Bibi Dong standing there, stretching out her hand alone. Are you being ignored? Why does this kid need so many soul bones? You can forget about it from now on with the soul bone. But then again, she is really reliable, and does the child trust her so much? The beautiful burgundy eyes flashed, and the Pope recalled the feeling just now in his mind, and the blush that had dissipated resurfaced again. A family? Boom! Green bubbles rose slowly in the test tube, and then exploded at the highest point. The young man carefully held the golden soul bone, and then poured the liquid on it. Buzz! The golden soul bone instantly burst out with a striking light, as if it was stimulated by something. The light quickly turned into a faint green. Almost at the same time, the young man released his martial soul without hesitation. The 2 soul rings, one purple and one black, suddenly shone and rhythmic. The milky white energy completely enveloped the soul bone. A mysterious energy wave spread slowly, and chakras are constantly intersecting and intertwining. There was sweat on the young man's forehead, but he did not dare to relax at all. He controlled the amount of chakra and carefully drew the already rich green into his body. Time passed bit by bit, and with Chen's control, the green color gradually merged with the milky white color, transforming into a brand new energy as clear as a green spring, slowly surrounding the young man, and finally, bit by bit, with the chakra was withdrawn into his body. Buzz! As the last ray of energy was completely absorbed, the boy suddenly opened his eyes. The arcs of angular colors are intertwined, and the luster of stars is diffused in the golden pupils, forming a rice pattern. Light golden eyeshadow appeared on his face, and gathered into a mysterious golden mark at the center of his brow. His robe fluttered, rising without wind, and a powerful aura emanated, and a noble and mysterious aura slowly spread. This familiar feeling. It was as if endless power was spreading through his limbs and bones. His mind was clear, his 7 orifices were moving, and his body was as light as a feather swallow. He clenched his fists, and with just a rough sense, he could feel that his physical strength and intensity had increased by more than 5 times. This is the sage mode. The boy exhaled a breath of white mist lightly, his eyes flashed, and he stepped lightly. Bang! In a flash, he had already appeared in the training ground, and where he had stood before, a huge pit appeared, with dense cracks spreading out. As the boy appeared, the training dummies on standby seemed to be activated, and they all rushed over. That's right, let's try it. The eyes with prisms and gold intertwined showed a ripple. Chen's mouth curled up, his fingers moved slightly, and a raisingan with a diameter of more than 1 meter condensed instantly. It was still the bright blue, but the center turned into pure white like jade. The violent wind pressure kept blowing as it turned, plowing tiny grooves on the wall. Senjutsu Raisingan. Boom. It was as if a missile exploded in the center of the dummy, and the broken limbs flew everywhere. In the violent white light, everything around was destroyed. The ceiling, walls and even the foundation wrapped in alloy and black rock all had clear cracks, and this was just the power of the aftermath. The smoke dissipated. In the center of the explosion, a huge pit of nearly 10 meters appeared in front of the boy. Chapter 68 Dragon Immortal Mode, Competition Requirements. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter Immortal Mode, Competition Requirements. Douluo. Debris from the black rock fell from the ceiling. Looking around, the vast training ground was already in a mess. The broken limbs of the training dummy were scattered everywhere, and the surrounding area of the pit was also covered with dense cracks. Even the laboratory next door was affected. No one would have thought that the initiator of such huge destructive power was just a great soul master. Ha 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 ha. The young man looked at his hands, feeling the familiar power surging, and laughed wantonly. Immortal mode. And it combines all the advantages of the three holy places, and is exclusive to his immortal mode. As early as in the ninja world, Chen discovered through contact with Jiraiya and Orochimaru, as well as Tsunade who had a slug psychic contract, that although the sage mode of the three holy places was powerful, each had many flaws. The frog immortal mode is strong and powerful, but flexible but very rigid. The snake immortal mode is too feminine and indecisive. Although the slug immortal mode does not have the shortcomings of the two, it also loses the advantages of the two. It is also very inert and easy to check. Carrots have a negative impact. No matter which one of these three sage modes you practice, it means that your own chakra practice method is destined to death. Therefore, for nearly 10 years, his research direction was how to gather the best of the three schools and eliminate the dross. Fortunately, he succeeded in the end. Take the strengths of the three families and eliminate the shortcomings of the three families. The combination of yin and yang, the combination of hardness and softness, is endless. His own immortal mode, its name is Dragon. A totem that is used to commemorate the inheritance of an ancient country that can never be returned to. But now facing this power, even with his character, it was difficult to suppress the excitement in his heart. However, this excitement did not last long. After just a few breaths, the young man's expression changed, the eyeshadow on his face quickly receded, and his golden eyes quietly returned to normal. A feeling of weakness quickly hit Chen's body, making him sit on the ground with some dizziness. Chakra, is it exhausted again? He took a breath and smiled bitterly. What's holding me back now is my 6-year-old body. Obviously, Chen has added another member to his Himana-consuming skill set, and its amplitude is so large that it far exceeds the 8 gates Duanjia and the first soul skill. Regardless of the need for soul bones in sage mode, his current chakra can only allow him to enter sage mode for 10 seconds. If soul skills or ninjutsu are used during this period, this time will be further shortened. But the improvement it brings is unimaginable. Under immortal mode, he can kill almost all opponents he encountered before in an instant, whether it is the Soul Sect, the Silkworm of Linwu, or even Qian Renxue with full firepower. That's bad. Now I've become a real man for 10 seconds. He patted his head and murmured helplessly, the software is all top-notch, but the hardware cannot run. This is a very painful thing. It seems that the Jinchuriki's plan must be put on the agenda as soon as possible. To be honest, Chen has been coveting this for a long time. It's impossible to contract with Emperor Tian Baiji, but if we can negotiate with Gu Yuna, there might be some hope of contracting with a Red King Xiong-jun. If it doesn't work, De Ming and Er Ming can do it. Forget it. Xiao Wu, that rabbit should have transformed by now. Wait a moment, it is estimated that the wanted order for him in the Great Forest is still at the highest level now. For now, it's better to get those few soul bones first. Putting away the dim golden soul bone in his hand, thinking back to the unparalleled power just now, Chen became more determined to participate in this competition. Want a gorgeous defeat? The moon and stars are sparse, the fireflies in the garden dance among the flowers, shining a little under the night, and complementing the beautiful scenery here. In the pavilion, 2 beautiful figures, one large and one small, sat opposite the young man, with exquisite delicacies placed on the table. They were discussing the issue of Chen's participation in the Pope's succession competition. The silver-haired boy was leaned back on the chair, frowning at the gorgeous woman opposite, and repeated his question. Gorgeous defeat, are you serious? Perhaps there was someone else around, but she was not wearing that bold nightgown, but a beige long skirt, exuding a youthful and beautiful temperament, not to mention a sense of temptation. The beautiful burgundy eyes under the Pope's crown shone in the starlight, and his long eyelashes blinked, and he nodded with a smile. Yes, it should be gorgeous, but not full force. She added, as soon as these words came out, not only Su Chen, but also Qian Renxue, who was a little embarrassed at the side, was stunned. Did you make something wrong? The people participating in the competition are not just passers-by who come here to make up the numbers, but the geniuses and elites of various sect colleges. She glanced at Su Chen and couldn't help but say, from the girl's point of view, it is a bit embarrassing to participate in such a competition at Su Chen's age. Although he is very strong, will those people be weak? The age gap lies here. No, others can't, but he can definitely do it. Bibi Dong shook her head and said confidently, it seemed that it was not Su Chen who participated in the competition but himself. It's a little difficult, I think. As long as they can realize the power of the spirit hall, I will let Qian Renxue give you another soul bone. The young man frowned and was about to say something when he saw Bibi Dong smiling and raising a finger. We must continue to serve the spirit hall despite the difficulties. Su Chen's face changed immediately and he patted his chest righteously. It would have been over if he had said it earlier. No, I. Qian Renxue opened her mouth slightly and looked at Bibi Dong in surprise, then at Su Chen. No, what does this have to do with me, and you like soul bones so much? Why, didn't that old thing Qian Douluo give you soul bones? Don't lie to me. Bibi Dong turned her head and narrowed her beautiful eyes, revealing a little dangerous breath. She was still upset about Qian Renxue's insistence on keeping in touch with Qian Douluo. Can you please stop calling Grandpa Lao Dong? I agree to this. The girl nodded helplessly. Soul bones are not a big problem. Even if there is no competition, for Su Chen's great help this time, let alone one, even her entire fortune would be fine. Anyway, her soul bones have been arranged by Qian Douluo, and she can't use those stocks. Humph, I advise you not to get too close to that old thing. The angels have nothing left in their minds except their God's inheritance. They are good to you only because of your talent. Bibi Dong crossed her arms, snorted coldly, and turned her head away. Although she was resentful in her heart, she would not force Qian Renxue to make a choice, but just reminded her. The blonde girl nodded silently. Qian Renxue is not a fool, and she has noticed it for so many years, but she can't deny that Qian Douluo is very concerned about her training. During the time when her mother was resentful and her father was busy, it was the old man who accompanied her through the most difficult time. To be honest, the girl's heart was very confused and conflicted. It is an indisputable fact that her mother killed her father, but she is also a victim, and revenge is a legitimate reason, but the problem is that these two people are her relatives. Qian Renxue longed for maternal love, but she felt guilty about her father and didn't dare to think about what would happen if her grandfather knew about this. Incredibly complex emotions intertwined in her heart, becoming more and more entangled, and making her more and more irritated. Hey, relax. At this moment, a pair of hands grabbed his shoulders. Qian Renxue looked up and saw the pair of dark eyes. The restless heart slowly calmed down. Chapter 69, Fighting on the Streets, Mysterious Martial Spirit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I don't think we need to make too many changes. Just give each other some time, okay? Su Chen patted the girl's thin shoulders, and then shook his head towards Bibi Dong. Acceptance is acceptance. The knot between each other has been forged for decades. Can it be solved overnight? It's already very good to be able to reach this situation now. Seeing their brows softening, the young man shrugged and looked at them. By the way, I need to leave something with you. Do you mind? Qian Renxue and Bibi Dong were slightly startled, and at the same time nodded with their pretty faces turning red. This boy, why does he talk so weirdly? Faced with this naked teasing, if it weren't for Su Chen, the mother and daughter would have taken action. You. Su Chen raised his eyebrows, looked at the two women's wrists that were stretched out in front of him at the same time, shook his head, reached out and patted them gently, and two silver dragon patterns the size of seals appeared on their wrists. What's this? Qian Renxue turned it over with some curiosity. The dragon pattern shone faintly in the moonlight, and she could feel the mysterious aura emanating from it, and she had a feeling that unless she broke off her arm, there would be no other way to remove this dragon mark. compared to the blonde girl's curious and vague guesses. Bibi Dong's feelings were much clearer. She opened her mouth in surprise, with some disbelief in her beautiful eyes. Is this the power of space? Looking at the shining dragon pattern on his wrist, the Pope was filled with surprise. Space. Hearing this, Qian Renshue's eyes widened in surprise. You must know that even the 8th or 9th soul skills of most soul masters cannot touch the edge of the word space, and even the slightest touch is an extremely terrifying ability. For example, Ghost Ju Douluo's tuple Forbidden Realm. It takes 2 title Douluo to use the martial soul fusion skill to trap a 100,000-year-old soul beast within it. The boy smiled slightly and turned the kunai in his hand. The handle of the kunai is also engraved with such a silver dragon pattern. It's a kind of insurance. As for the effect, you will know in 2 days. Early the next morning, Chen left the experimental base at dawn. Walking on the road in the morning light, the young man stretched himself. Thinking of Qian Renxue and Bibi Dong chasing after him last night and gnashing their teeth, he couldn't help laughing. No matter what, after the two targeted him, their relationship did advance a lot. Ah, by the way, where is Wuhuan City Academy? Chen played with the kunai in his hand and looked at the surrounding buildings. Perhaps because it was only a few days before the succession ceremony began, this city that was not usually crowded with people suddenly became lively. Sect power academies from all over the mainland, as well as businessmen who sensed business opportunities, spies fishing in troubled waters, and countless good and bad people all entered the city. After walking just a few hundred meters, Chen saw more than 20 completely different power symbols, some of which he even had some impressions of. Jianshui, Kamikaze, 5 Elements Academy. The silver-haired boy glanced at the group of young and beautiful girls who were bargaining with the stall owners, as well as the young people surrounding them step by step, and couldn't help but shake his head. He thought Feng Xiaotian was an exception, but he didn't expect it to be a tradition. This Kamikaze Academy is probably rich in dog-licking. Easily bypassing the crowd, Chen planned to go to another street to have a look. If you still can't find it, you can only ask others. About half an hour later, the silver-haired boy squeezed out of the crowd on another street, looking a little ugly. Can't find it at all, and the flow of people on this street is even more exaggerated, and the deacons in white who maintain order are somewhat stretched. How about asking someone to ask? Chen muttered. Wuhuan City Academy is also considered one of the universities, and its reputation should be quite high. Monster, go away. Do you deserve to be here? Get out of here. Just when Chen was about to ask someone casually, a loud noise suddenly reached his ears. The boy's eyes instantly turned jade white, and he followed the source of the sound to look at the commotion in front of the crowd. When he saw the scene clearly, his eyes widened slightly. No way. Bang bang bang. The dull sound of flesh colliding was accompanied by screams one after another. Several young people in blue clothes spurted blood and flew out upside down. The remaining people trembled and took 2 steps back with fear on their faces. Looked at the figure surrounded by them. That was a teenager, wearing a black and green outfit with a simple chest protector and leggings. His dirty face was covered with sweat and dust, his short black hair was messy, and his wild green eyes were vaguely visible. He spat out a mouthful of bloody spit, bared his snow-white fangs, and stared fiercely at the people in front of him like a lone wolf, scaring those people into retreating quickly. Humph, you bastard, you're looking for death. A cold shout accompanied by a strong wind hit him. The latter's pupils shrank and he hurriedly dodged sideways, but he was too late. Click. The sound of cracking bones was intertwined with the young man's painful groan. His body flew out like a cannonball, hit the wall behind hard, and then fell to the ground, stirring up a cloud of smoke and dust. It's Teacher Yi. Teacher Yi, you have to make a decision for us. He beat Ah-san so hard that he vomited blood. Teacher Yi is a soul sect master. He will definitely teach that monster a lesson. The young people seemed to have seen something important, and they shouted excitedly. The middle-aged man in pale blue clothes walked out of the crowd, rubbing his wrist, and glared at the group of young people with some regret. You really have brought shame to Zhanhui Academy. Why don't you take them to get treatment quickly? Then, the middle-aged man turned his eyes to the boy who had begun to slowly climb up, with a trace of pity and jealousy in his eyes. I didn't hold back just now, but this monster couldn't die like this? What a hateful talent. If it weren't for your father, I would have killed you right now just for the crime of injuring a student. Yi Zhiqiu snorted coldly, his eyes narrowed. Now, go back, you are disqualified for this competition. The boy who was trying to get up heard this and suddenly raised his head. His green eyes under his black hair stared at Yi Zhiqiu, the soul power surged, and a faint shadow appeared behind him. At the same time, 2 yellow soul rings also appeared on him. Buzz. The soul rings lit up, and the boy's skin quickly turned blood red. The sweat was instantly evaporated into mist. He roared and rushed towards Yi Zhiqiu. Chapter 70, Wouldn't it be better to just kill him? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bang! The wild boy flew back at a faster speed, knocking down the wall completely, causing a cry of surprise. Humph, you overestimate your own abilities, you are just a great soul master. Yi Zhiqiu snorted coldly, and the green-black tortoise martial spirit was released. For white, yellow, and purple soul rings appeared one after another. He shook his neck and looked at the boy buried in the ruins, whose life and death were unknown, with a hideous smile on his lips. But since you are looking for death, you can't blame me. Who is this guy? Next to the street, in an elegant tea house, the young blonde boy looked at the noise downstairs with interest, pointed at Yi Zhiqiu who was pinching the wild boy's neck, and asked the person next to him. Reporting to His Highness Weiss, this person is an intern teacher at Sanhui College. The waiter beside him immediately bent down and explained respectfully. Sanhui College, the blonde boy looked at him in confusion. Report to His Highness Weiss, it's just a barely second-rate academy, and it won't pose any threat to the geniuses of our Xingluo. Humph, the teacher is just a 4-ring rubbish, and the students are such trash that they were beaten to a pulp by the great soul master. My cousin has dirtied his hands by killing them. Davis curled his lips in disdain. By the way, if the Spirit Hall law enforcement team comes later, go and help. The waiter was stunned. Help the Spirit Hall. Idiot, it must be to help him. Davis looked at him with a look of idiot. What do you think we are here for? But remember, don't expose our identities, just find someone to stand in the crowd of onlookers and shout a few times. Looking at the team of white-clothed deacons who hurried over, his eyes flashed with a wise light. Someone will help us complete the rest of the work. Brother Weiss, why are you standing here? Hey, what are you doing with the stool? The little black-haired girl poked her head out and looked at Davis curiously standing in front of the window with her hands behind her back. The air fell into a moment of silence. The profound expression on the latter's face could not be held back for a moment, and he climbed down the stool in a rage and roared, Zhu Zhuyun, you idiot. Woo, Brother Weiss, don't scold me. At most, I'll let you be the titled Douluo next time. Idiot, shut up, who wants to play house with you? Woo. Woo, the wild boy's face flushed, and he kept struggling in the air. Yi Zhiqiu pinched his neck with a grim smile, but he was horrified in his heart. He had already used all his strength, but it was extremely difficult to suppress it, with such a terrible talent. If this kid and his sect are not eliminated, my Sanhui Ming dynasty will be in danger. Thinking of the terrible consequences, Yi Zhiqiu tried harder, and the boy's struggle gradually slowed down. His eyes turned white, and he was about to lose his voice. Some onlookers gloated, some sighed, and some just watched the fun. No one stepped forward to stop it. After all, this is Wuhuan City, and it is an internal dispute. If you intervene rashly, you will only get yourself involved. Stop! At this moment, a loud shout came, and Yi Zhiqiu subconsciously let go, so that the young man had a chance to catch his breath and began to breathe in fresh air. No private fighting in Wuhuan City. A team of white-clothed deacons hurried over. The leader looked at the collapsed walls and blood on the ground with an ugly face. His chest rose and fell violently, and he was obviously very angry. Just a little carelessness, and such a big mess happened. This time the captain was going to scold him to death. The leader felt bitter, and his eyes turned more and more unfriendly towards Yi Zhiqiu. Why don't you put it down quickly? Sorry, sir, I will compensate for the damaged items, but this is a private matter of my academy, please don't interfere. Yi Zhiqiu's ears moved slightly, and his flustered face instantly became confident. He straightened his chest and pointed at the half-dead wild boy in his hand. His name is Du Wudi, and he is a disciple of a small sect under my Zhanghui. You can check our registration list. Save these words for the interrogation hall. The leader of the law enforcement team snorted coldly and waved his hand. Take them all away. Sir, is this the style of the spirit hall? Yi Zhiqiu did not resist, and let the white-clothed deacon pull his body, just looking around and saying loudly. We small sects and small academies don't even have the right to deal with our own private affairs. The leader froze, and his face instantly became uglier. He turned around, looked at the smiling Yi Zhiqiu, and said word by word, we in the spirit hall never interfere. However, before he finished speaking, doubts suddenly rang out from the crowd. Yeah, why are you so overbearing? I'm just cleaning up the house, why do you have to meddle in other people's business? If you break something, can't you just pay for it? TSK, this is the spirit hall, they are used to being overbearing. It was as if a stone stirred up 1,000 waves. In an instant, countless condemnations came overwhelming, drowning the leader of the law enforcement team in the waves. See. Davis smiled proudly, it's not just my Xingluo family who came to add insult to injury after learning the news. Who on this continent doesn't hope that the spirit hall will fall? Your Highness is wise. The waiter admired him very much. Brother Weiss is so awesome. Can I stand on the stool with Brother Weiss? Shut up, idiot. On the field, in the middle of the crowd. The leader of the law enforcement team gritted his teeth and looked at Yi Zhiqiu, who was slowly tidying up his clothes, as if he was not the one who was just caught. Don't worry, we have no intention of going against a behemoth like the spirit hall. I'm just doing my own thing. If I break your rules, please forgive me. Can you let me go? Yi Zhiqiu patted the hand that grabbed him, adjusted his collar, and with a smile, he pulled the wild boy over, grabbed his neck, and exerted force instantly. Woo! The boy groaned miserably, rolled up his bloodshot eyes, and saw that he could only breathe out but not in. You! The leader was trembling with anger, wishing he could punch through that damn smiling face, and at the same time he was extremely hesitant in his heart. If he let the other party kill the child, then his face would be completely lost, but if he rescued him, the spirit hall would be accused of interfering with other sects, and he couldn't afford it in such a serious situation. Well, I know you are busy with official duties, so I won't bother you anymore. I will send the cost of repairing the wall this afternoon. Seeing that several people were hesitant, Yi Zhiqiu's eyes flashed with a hint of pride, and he exerted force in his hand to completely solve the wild boy. However, the next second. Ah! Yi Zhiqiu screamed and flew backwards. The hand holding the wild boy had been pierced by a dagger engraved with dragon patterns. I say, you people. Why are you still polite to him? The long and clear voice resounded in everyone's ears, but they saw that where Yi Zhiqiu was standing, there was a silver-haired boy. He turned the dagger in his hand, and his black eyes swept through the crowd, and finally stopped at the howling Yi Zhiqiu. Such a person, wouldn't it be better to kill him?